Beneath the windswept grasslands of Kazakhstan lies an unmarked grave that has remained hidden for 8 centuries. The man buried there was the firstborn son of history's greatest conqueror, yet his name was a question mark, his legitimacy forever disputed, and his death so sudden that historians still wonder whether his own father ordered it. This is the story of Jochi Khan, the heir who was never truly accepted, and a mystery that reveals the brutal calculations at the heart of the Mongol Empire. In the spring of 1184, Temujin, not yet known as Genghis Khan, was still a rising warlord among the fractured Mongol tribes. He had recently married Bert, a woman from the old Kunet clan, cementing an alliance crucial to his ambitions. But within months, their camp was attacked by the Merkits, a rival tribe seeking vengeance for old grievances. In the chaos, Bert was captured and taken as a captive wife by a Merkit warrior named Agar. For 9 months, she remained in Merkit hands. When Temujin finally rescued her, leading a daring raid with allies Jamukha and Togrul, Bert was visibly pregnant. The child born from this ordeal was named Jochi, a Mongol word meaning guest or visitor. It was a name heavy with implications, suggesting someone whose belonging was uncertain, whose place was temporary. Temujin accepted Bert back without public reproach and raised Jochi as his own. But in Mongol society, paternity was never merely personal. It determined inheritance, commanded loyalty, and justified rule. If Jochi was not truly Temujin's biological son, his claim to any portion of the future empire was fundamentally compromised. The question remained unspoken but never forgotten. Jochi grew up in this shadow. He received the education of a Mongol prince, horsemanship, archery, strategy, and command. He fought in his father's campaigns and proved himself a capable military leader. But within the family, the doubt became a weapon. His younger brother Chagatai, whose paternity was never questioned, openly despised him. In a culture where birth order typically determined succession, Chagatai refused to accept his second-born status beneath a brother he considered illegitimate. The conflict erupted during a family council as Genghis Khan's empire expanded across Asia. According to Persian historian Rashid al-Din, writing decades later, Chagatai publicly called Jochi a bastard during discussions of inheritance. Jochi seized his brother by the collar, and violence nearly erupted before their father intervened. Genghis Khan's response revealed the depth of the problem. Rather than affirming Jochi's legitimacy and position as eldest son, he proposed a compromise that effectively removed Jochi from primary succession. Neither Jochi nor the hot-tempered Chagatai would inherit the title of Great Khan. That honor would go to their younger brother Gede, described as more diplomatic and level-headed. Jochi would receive vast territories in the west, but not supreme leadership. This decision was generous and devastating in equal measure. Jochi received lands that would become the Golden Horde, stretching from Kazakhstan through Russia to Eastern Europe. But the implicit message was unmistakable. Despite being the eldest, he was not trusted with the empire's heart. The doubt surrounding his birth had altered his destiny forever. As Jochi consolidated power in the western territories, he began acting with increasing independence. He made military and administrative decisions without consulting his father. He developed diplomatic relationships with local rulers. Some accounts suggest he was building a separate power base, creating a court culture influenced by the settled civilizations he'd conquered rather than Mongol nomadic traditions. For Genghis Khan, whose authority was absolute and whose paranoia about betrayal was well documented, this growing autonomy became deeply suspicious. In 1226, he demanded that Jochi join the major campaign against the Jin dynasty in northern China. Every able commander was required. Jochi did not appear. The official explanation was illness, but messengers sent to investigate returned with troubling reports. According to Rashid al-Din, they had seen Jochi hunting, apparently healthy, surrounded by his own retinue and seemingly indifferent to his father's summons. Whether this account is accurate or embellished by later chroniclers, it represents the narrative that circulated among Mongol elites. Jochi had become insubordinate, perhaps even treasonous. Then, in early 1227, word reached Genghis Khan's court that forever sealed both men's fates. Jochi was dead. The official report stated that Jochi had succumbed to illness during a hunting expedition in the Kazakh steppes. He was approximately 40 years old, in the prime of his military career, with no prior record of serious ailment. The timing was extraordinary. He died just months before his father would meet his own end during the siege of the Western Shia kingdom. 2 deaths, both sudden, both politically convenient. The circumstances surrounding Jochi's death are deliberately obscure. According to Mongol tradition, the graves of important leaders were kept secret to prevent desecration. Anyone who witnessed the burial servants' guards, even fellow mourners, would be executed to ensure the location remained unknown. This practice meant that the truth of how Jochi died was literally taken to the grave. What deepens the mystery is Genghis Khan's reaction. When informed of his eldest son's death, the Khan reportedly showed no grief, no period of mourning, no public acknowledgement of loss. He simply continued his campaigns and finalized the division of his empire among his remaining sons. This silence has fueled 8 centuries of speculation. Did Genghis Khan already know because he had ordered it? Was his lack of emotion guilt, or merely the pragmatism of a ruler who had long ago severed emotional ties with a son he never fully accepted? The earliest Mongol historical source, The Secret History of the Mongols, is notably silent on the specifics of Jochi's death. This omission is striking in a document that details many other family matters. Later Persian chronicles are more explicit in their suspicions. Rashid al-Din suggests that Genghis Khan, believing Jochi was planning rebellion, sent assassins. The historian Juvayni mentions rumors of murder but attributes it to Jochi's brothers rather than his father. One theory holds that Chagatai orchestrated the assassination. With Jochi alive, there was always the possibility he might challenge the succession or that his descendants might claim precedence. By eliminating his rival, Chagatai would secure his own line's position. Another possibility involves Gadai, the designated heir. Though generally portrayed as less vindictive, Gadai had clear motivation. Jochi commanded significant forces and controlled vast territories. If he refused to acknowledge Gadai's authority after their father's death, he could trigger a civil war that would tear the empire apart. The darkest theory is that Genghis Khan himself ordered his son's execution. The Khan had previously ordered deaths of close companions suspected of disloyalty. His relationship with Jochi was complicated by questions of paternity, by the son's growing independence, and by his failure to obey commands. In the brutal logic of empire building, a defiant son was not merely a personal disappointment but a political liability. The timing supports this theory. Jochi died in early 1227, and Genghis Khan died in August of the same year. Some historians speculate that the Khan, sensing his own mortality, eliminated potential sources of conflict before his death. By removing Jochi, he could ensure the succession plan favoring Gadai would proceed without challenge. A final act of consolidation disguised as natural death. Archaeological efforts have yielded nothing. Despite numerous expeditions in Kazakhstan, no grave has been definitively identified as Jochi's. The Mongol practice of secret burial remains effective 8 centuries later. What we know is what happened after. Jochi's territories were divided among his sons. The most prominent Bato Khan would lead the Mongol invasion of Europe in the 1240s, conquering Russia, Poland, and Hungary, establishing the Golden Horde as a dominant power for centuries. Despite questions about Jochi's paternity, his descendants proved among the most successful of all Mongol lineages. This creates a profound irony. The son who was doubted, sidelined, and possibly murdered, became the ancestor of one of the most enduring Mongol dynasties. While Gedai's line would lose power within generations, Jochi's descendants ruled Russia and Central Asia for centuries. The Golden Horde would not fully collapse until the early 16th century. Modern DNA studies have identified a Y chromosome lineage extraordinarily common in Central Asia, carried by an estimated 16 million men today. This genetic signature is believed to represent Genghis Khan's bloodline. Some descendants of Jochi's line carried this marker, suggesting he was indeed the Khan's biological son. But such evidence remains inconclusive and debated. From a historical perspective, the truth of Jochi's paternity may matter less than the perception. He was accepted as a son, given territories and command, and his descendants were recognized as imperial family. Yet the doubt was always present, weaponized by rivals and perhaps internalized by Genghis Khan himself. The psychological toll on Jochi can only be imagined. To grow up as the eldest son of the world's most powerful man, yet know your place was questioned. To achieve victories yet be passed over for succession. To face public humiliation from your brothers while your father remained ambiguous. These experiences would foster resentment, independence, and a drive to prove oneself. The silence of the sources speaks volumes about Mongol political culture. In a society where conquests were celebrated and the deeds of Khans carefully recorded, the absence of detail about Jochi's death suggests deliberate concealment. Someone wanted the truth obscured, and they had the power to ensure historians and chroniclers would remain vague. Beneath the grasslands of Kazakhstan, Jochi's grave remains hidden. The man buried there lived in perpetual uncertainty, his legitimacy forever questioned, his achievements overshadowed by doubt. Whether he died of natural causes or by his father's order, we may never know. What we do know is that the empire he helped build through conquest and blood would not fully accept him, even in death. And in that silence lies a truth about power, about family, and about the brutal calculations that shaped the medieval world.